Music Matters. The Sophs. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Thanks for doing this, y'all. Appreciate it. That was a powerful clap. I feel like that just reverberated all over the room. Thank you guys for doing this. Very, very excited to have you for Community Service Fest, the Sophs First Festival. Something I'm very proud to throw. But
Hell
yeah, super excited. Thank you guys for doing the interview, and yeah, just pumped to have you here.
Hell yeah. Well, we're happy to be here, Dante.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. I wanted to start, and I usually don't do this, but I think the story of the origins of this band are so unique and so different that I do think it's worth covering. I remember it must have been, it was some party we had at our house, and you were there, and we talked for a while, and you sent me a couple of really early Sophs demos after. And this must have been like over a year ago. So in my head, that's where my awareness of the Sophs began. But it sounds like you guys were doing stuff a lot before that. So I was curious, when did the first demos for the Sophs kind of begin? I know there's a lot to fill in the blanks there. There was that happening, you guys getting signed, everything happening after that. A lot of story to cover in the beginning there. But I was curious, when did how early did the first Sophs demos date back to? And are those songs you guys are still working on? Do you go back to them a lot? How do those first kind of demos ring in your mind right now?
So we had started working. So the Sophs' earliest iteration was Austin and I making Elliott Smith role play music in like,
I love when that happens.
Yeah, in like 2021. And then Sam joined the band, and we officially named ourselves the Sophs, and that was, I believe, mid-2022.
So that was when you were still living at the other house?
Yeah,
okay.
I was in Phoenix, actually.
Oh.
The three of us were. And we started making music kind of, it was like a clandestine operation. And we were just kind of feeling each other out musically, personally, physically.
But you guys knew each other before that, right? Or
We
no?
did. I had graduated high school with Sam. I had worked with Austin for years. But we had never made music like this together. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where we all moved out here in Los Angeles the top of the following year. That was 2023, where the catalog that we were amassing was becoming objectively just like really good. Uh-huh. You know, like the quality of the music wasn't something that you could really ignore anymore. It couldn't just be like something you do for fun on the side,
like a joke. It was too good to be a joke.
Yeah. And that was around when we wrote Sweat as well. And so early the next year, Seth joined the band, and then we just kept creating. And then it took a lot of patience, but the iron was hot, and we struck when we knew that we had enough music to put together just a really undeniable like 5-song reel. Yeah.
At this point, like, was the Sophs something you were telling people about? Was it something that you only the three of you really were thinking about and knew about, or was it something that like you were actively telling people about and stuff?
Well, I mean, you just said you actively heard about it before it really existed, and that was and I still consider you very special. But I did that with a lot of people.
Consider you special too, bro.
So I was, and this wasn't. Maybe it was a little pragmatic, but only a little bit. I would get, but mostly just because I was so proud of the music, I would get super hammered and spend the last like couple hours of a party where the crowd is whittled down and it's just a few people sitting in a room and stuff, and I'd be like showing music and shit like that, and I really have to show you like what I'm working on. I've got to do this, and so I'd plant the seeds, and then I'd follow up the day after, and I'd send them the songs and stuff, and so it's just I don't know. I was excited about it.
How are you finding time to do it at that point in your life? Because I guess the three of you, like, having it exist at that point, how are you finding? Because I know you guys were all in like prior projects and doing music already, and I'm sure that was taking a majority of your time. Where did the Sophs like live in your head at that point? Was it something that you wanted to take seriously? Did you think it had a future? Like, when was the point, I guess, when you realized like, this has momentum, we want this to be something, this is more than just like a joke, or this is more than just like a fun side project?
I feel like Sweat was a really defining moment, because that was around the time that we left for Los Angeles.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I don't know. It was few and far between at the time, but also like all we were doing was creating, and the rate in which we create, especially for the Sophs music, which we've stayed true to, is pretty much a song a day.
Damn. So you did that even when you guys were on LA?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and we don't really think about it too much, and so it really wasn't as, I wish we could have found more time to do it, and obviously now it's all we do, which is best case scenario, but
yeah,
it's really not too taxing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. I didn't know it existed that long prior to that. I think that's and we were talking about this before, but it's so funny. Whenever a band pops up and finds success quickly and gets signed quickly, obviously everybody just comes out of the woodwork with the whole like industry plan allegations and stuff. But it's
5 years of making songs.
Yeah.
5 years of making songs.
That being said, I would like to officially announce the Sophs is the first Peter Thiel-backed K-pop Strokes cover band on the moon.
Let's get number one.
First Palantir-backed K-pop cover band, Strokes cover band,
backed by the bourgeoisie
on the moon. You guys were right.
You guys have corporate donors. They're all over.
You got us.
We have a foundation that's not really a foundation.
You know what? It's great. I love it.
So you do that. You guys move out. So that's interesting to me. I didn't know it proceeded that far back. But you move out here. You guys have been here because we moved out here at pretty similar times. I moved out here in 2022, October of 22. And I think you were a similar time, right?
I think I was around like January of the following year.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. But you moved down here. The Sophs already a thing. You're doing other music stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get to this place where you begin sending out these demos, and then Rough Trade, here's one. That period of time, was the Sophs becoming a more serious thing at that point? Was it formulating into a different spot in your life?
Yeah, so it wasn't just me, but all of the it was kismet practically. All of our members, two of which aren't here right now. That's Cole, who is in a band that dissipated around the same time as I was sending out these demos, and just started playing bass with us. And then Devin, who had moved out, he's our drummer. He had moved out here earlier last year, and he was looking for work, looking for friends, and it all just kind of lined up.
Yeah. Do you remember a Sophs track in the early days that really defined what you guys were going to move towards sonically? Like, do you think it was Sweat? Like, out of those first group of demos, like, was there one that you remember really going forth and defining what the rest of you guys were going to make sonically?
Well, we actually made, we had a whole other batch of music we thought was going to be the first batch of music.
Interesting.
And so that batch of music was actually, we grabbed a couple of those from that pile that made its way into, like, what's kind of currently our first songs, but that sounded a little different. It was like, this has become a little more it's influenced a little more, like, to me, like the songs we have now have like some more like Latin vibes.
Sure.
Sometimes some like weird ass experimental vibes sometimes, like back in like a get out of here. The first batch of songs was way more like more strictly 90s rock, I'd say.
Gotcha.
It more strictly 90s rock, and also had it was had some more ballads, and we were really stoked about those songs too. But yeah, like now it's actually been kind of like a side door approach after years where we're like, this is actually our first stuff that we really feel like is us.
Yeah, I mean that's so interesting because I feel like so much of the Sophs music I've heard, it's so different from song to song in a genre lens. Like everything feels sort of hard to pin down, hard to define. Do you guys feel like that came after that first batch of songs, within the second batch of songs? When do you think you got to a place where a lot of the genre stuff was mixing around very heavily?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, the first batch of songs that we made was all kind of strung together by a common theme being heartbreak, I guess, at the time. And personally, I felt like I was so enveloped by my emotions and trying to be able to convey this one emotional thing that I couldn't really see past the tip of my fucking nose, you know, like
Sure.
it was all just encompassing. I was like, this is what I'm gonna make music about. It has to be about this. It has to sonically, everything has to fit this mood. And now, you know, I find that there's more interesting and esoteric at times things to write songs about other than
Sure.
that, and I don't feel urgency to write songs about just one thing. And so I think topically we have a much larger variety. We're playing around a lot more, and sonically it reflects that as well.
Definitely. There's also something about being in a band and like writing songs is like you what he just said, it's hard to even know, like you need time to know that.
100%.
You need time to have passed to go like, I don't want to go up on stage and do that every night, or I do want to go up on stage and have a larger, maybe something that just reflects more aspects of life. You know what I mean? Just like something that feels like you can be lighter on your feet and also go deeper.
Yeah.
With yourself and like with the people in the band. And so like we kind of get the opportunity now to do that with the start of the band, because the start of the band had taken as long as it had, and so we kind of got to have a mini evolution before the jump, if that makes sense.
I actually feel like I know a good amount of bands that have had like a decently similar trajectory where they had like been making music for a couple of years prior to even putting anything out or even playing their first shows and stuff. And I always feel like those bands tend to approach things from a much more calculated lens because they've had so long to think about it.
Yeah, and we failed in private, which I feel like was the biggest defining factor for us. As the Sophs, we failed in private. And so we can afford the luxury of being very pragmatic and choice about how we choose to appear, what kind of music we choose to make, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think we've also, at this point, invented our own genre, and I have a name for it. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
It's called experimental vibe.
Experimental vibe? I fuck with that. It's really about the vibe is what it is.
Thank you for having us.
Experimental vibe. Thanks for having us, guys. No, I feel the feeling in private thing. I think about that a lot, actually. I think like more bands need that luxury, and I think that's something that's actually really contrary to like the whatever, like the accepted kind of notion in the music industry that you need to put yourself out there and show absolutely everything. I think that is sort of short-sighted in the sense that like I think people have a very finite level of attention they're willing to give you, and I think you need to be impressing them every single time they see something. So I actually feel like it's a lot better to show them the very tip of the iceberg, which I think a lot of people, you know, on social media are doing actively. But I think if you're posting something every single day and just throwing and heaving yourself at people, they're going to feel overwhelmed. They're not going to feel like they're getting something special when they receive it. And I mean, I think because of that, you guys were definitely more like you took more benefit out of having that time to kind of incubate prior to actually going out and like putting yourself out there.
Yeah, nothing, regardless of whether it's a song or a content piece or anything, feels like it's done out of desperation, which is desperation is totally see-through. I feel like the minute that an artist starts posting out of desperation or starts writing out of desperation, it fucking stinks. Yeah, and everybody can tell.
Yeah, it's very obvious. I think I've had to break out of that at times in my life. I think it's easy to get to that place when you're working so hard on something that like you want to actively be pursuing it every single day. You want to be posting things. You want to be making, you know, putting yourself out there every single day. But you're right. It becomes very see-through at a certain point that like you're really grasping for straws. Yeah. Do you guys feel like as you exited that place of being behind the shadow and kind of going more so into the public eye and signing with Rough Trade and stuff, what do you think have been the biggest growing pains in terms of like becoming a band that wasn't just you guys making music in the private of your homes, but instead being a public-facing band?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
That I don't know the answer to.
The experimental vibe.
I feel like because we've made so much music and now like we kind of get, like come up with the plan, it feels like a month or two before the song's coming out. Yeah. So it feels like we're just hitting the ground running. And we're like, we have this idea, we're gonna make this happen. Okay, they don't like this, the label doesn't like this part, but like maybe we could do this. And the label wants us to try this and that sounds great. So it's a lot of back and forth. But ultimately, I don't know, we kind of just move as a like a six-headed monster that Ethan has control of. But
he controls the experimental vibe.
But he's the master of the experimental vibe.
And the Latin vibe.
The real
Don't
subtle
forget the Latin
vibe. Yeah.
That one's mine.
So they used to
Hello,
call
beautiful. You have a real Latin vibe about you.
But
who's gonna go up and say that to like every white girl in the at Zebulon?
I'm not saying that.
Sam, do you want to? You're the single one.
Sam could get away with it.
The spicy white.
Austin said it, so I feel like he should be the one.
Why not? Why not?
Oh no. Okay, we're good.
Shut up. Shut up.
Ignore it.
So I feel like it's always very like democratic and well spoken about, and then we just trust each other's judgment, or we question it and we agree on something.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just like, since we signed a rough trade, it's just like, oh shit, this is real.
Sure.
Well, I'd say there are three factors that helps us, despite whether we're a private or a public band.
Yeah.
That keep us moving symbiotically. The first of which is that we're all seasoned.
Yeah, you've been in this a long time.
We're all older than we look. The second of which, fuck, I forgot the second one. Give me a second.
What was the third one?
Nobody talk. Give me a second. The third of which is that we all have a modicum of success externally that keeps morale up.
I
remembered the second one, but the third one was going to have the most dramatic effect if I said it last, and I already said it, so I'm freaking out. Okay, the first one is that we're all older than we look. The second one is that we're all very talented. The third one is that we are all succeeding by our standards.
Yeah.
Even, we have something to latch on to that keeps morale up internally. And it's very easy to not snap at each other, to not be tense at each other, to appreciate each other when we're getting so much external validation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think whether it's from like an external force, like that external validation being like an industry force or like a fan base or whatever, I do feel like it's really important to try to whether you're getting it from that or from within, it's really important to figure out what those benchmarks are for everybody, because I think if you don't have those like lights at the end of the tunnel, you kind of go crazy. Where if you never take a step back and you're like, okay, like, we signed, so like at least something's going right, or like you never take a step back and be like, we have a fan base, so at least something's going right, or you're like, I'm making a little bit of money off this, like at least that's going right. I think if you don't kind of have those mental check-ins with yourself, you can get so absorbed by like this perceived notion of like success or unsuccess, and which is like not really definable by your own terms or in your own head at all. So I think you got
for each other too.
Yeah,
it's the most important part.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Do you feel like, because you guys, you said the four of you were playing for a long time, but then bringing Cole and Devin as well, like how is that relationship kind of flourished the last like 6 months, where you guys have been a more public facing band and like been playing a lot more shows and things? Like it seems like you guys are very close and stuff, but has that relationship grown more so since you guys have been putting music out, or do you feel like it was internally very, very strong already?
Oh, totally, 100%. I think honestly, I thought it was like love at first sight with those guys, because like we knew Cole a little bit, just like going to the bars and stuff and like hanging out.
I knew him very well.
I
went to a lot of bars.
A lot of bars with Cole.
And I started going to the bars and I was like, oh, Cole is a force. Cole is a gravitational.
He's an element that none of us are.
Cole definitely.
He can talk to old white people.
Oh, that's
exactly.
Awesome.
I can on occasion, but I have to be wearing long sleeves.
What does that mean?
You
I have to hide all my gang tattoos.
Yeah, you said MS-13 tattoos.
Yeah, when we I think it kind of goes with Ethan's answer from a moment ago, where the the kind of carrot on the stick at the end of the treadmill. You know what I mean? Like we all see the same carrot, and we're all running at the same carrot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of there's a shared vision that creates a shared excitement, which then makes having a beer really fun together, because then it's kind of like you see that. See, it's right there. Like, it's different than all being in your own world. And also, like you were just, that's a very important point you were making about people potentially crashing out or being lost because they don't have I don't have headphones. Sorry if I'm.
Oh, you're good. You're actually perfect right there.
Dude, I'm on axis.
Yeah, you're on axis.
Keeps having to turn me down.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can see.
I have turned Ethan down like 3 times.
That's funny. No, it is. It's a huge risk that you run as an artist, getting in the middle of it, even when shit's going well, and being like, "Oh, I'm not having any fun," and also I don't see a way out, and also I have to keep doing this, and also everyone thinks I'm having a great time.
Oh yeah.
And that it sucks. And so I think not only can you avoid that, but you can also set up a terrestrial heaven of having, you know what I mean, of really just setting goals and achieving them and defining it well and being like, this is exactly what I want. Like, I don't want to get caught in this. I only want to be doing this shit until it's over, you know? And so
and you know, post like honeymoon phase with all of our additions over time, you know, because people function differently.
Sure.
Once there's money on the table, once there's a prospect of success on the table. Do you have to turn me up now?
You're going up.
Am I fucking up?
You're
just making your guys' lives easier, by the way. And sometimes, like, sort of stashed trauma or isms or sensitivities come out of the woodwork.
You might not even know.
Yeah. And really, like, obviously all of us are, like, pretty, like, you know, like so we're not like totally like well adjusted. Sure. Not like in like like sweet dreams are made of the, just like talking in like a human sense. Yeah. You know, like just as humans who are living in Los Angeles right now, we're not you know, totally like family men. Yeah. Take home to your parents, whatever. Maybe Sam is, but
I think Sam is.
But these guys, as far as like deep seated trauma,
Sam, I would take you home to my parents.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I would take all of you home to my parents.
Yeah. Oh, we're coming, buddy. That was so threatening.
I know. Like, what are you gonna do to my parents?
What do you mean you're
okay? All this to say, any sort of deep-seated trauma or isms or anything like that, it all feels fixable. It all feels workable. Everybody feels like they're still on planet Earth, you know, and they still take responsibility.
That's a really, really important distinction there that I think I've actually had to like reconcile with people in my life sometimes, where I'm like, there are folks that you love very deeply, and you may just have slight differences in the way that you look at the world, and then there are folks that are not living on the same planet as you. Yeah, and that's a very real thing.
Especially, and I hate to say it too, especially men. Yeah, like men, especially in music, there's a very machismo attitude that draws out some very interesting types over time, and some types very unwilling to kind of work on themselves.
Yeah, I also think it can make bad people even worse. Yeah. I think I've seen a lot of people, like, especially, I mean,
get some like IV dripped validation hook.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've seen people that I know, like, move to LA and already have tendencies to have some negative qualities about them, or some bad, make some bad decisions. And they move here, and that all just gets cranked times 10. And I think that can also have, I mean, I think that can happen in any city, really. But when you're around, like, people like yourself, 24/7, 365, you either settle with, like, the worst group for you or the best group for you. Yeah. Like, I think it's very easy to do that.
Like, I definitely, like, the first year I moved out to Los Angeles, I was, like, kind of a shithead. But then I got my shit together. And especially this past year with the Sophs, and finally, like, I don't know, being in a space where I can be around like-minded individuals and have creative freedom to the capacity that I never knew that I wanted so bad. I find myself meal prepping
in the gym.
Bottom line, like it's so interesting how
so true.
like the other minute parts of your life can all kind of come together once you're creatively fulfilled, especially if being creative is your profession.
Yeah, I would love to get the rest of your guys' opinion on this and just like how the Sophs has fit into your life as it's gotten more serious. But just to add on to your point, I recently I feel like I've lost that, and I'm realizing the difference in just how stark the contrast is. Like, I had a job in music and I lost that job in music, and now it's like the difference in the way that I'm living my day-to-day life when I was working in music actively and when I'm not is so fucking different. Yeah. And like, I'm realizing how important that was in my life, and I'm trying to figure out how to like find the balance again, how it works, etc. You know, it's all growing pains, but I totally see what you're saying. I think like when those, it almost becomes, I think for some people, and this may sound like a privileged artist perspective, but I think for some people, I think making art becomes almost like one of your human needs, in the same way that like community is, or like food is, or shelter. I do think for some artists, like they feel this burning desire. I mean, I think simply because it can be people's form of therapy. And I think for that reason, it can become like a need that you need to have fulfilled. But I'm curious, the rest of you guys, how do you feel like as things have gotten more serious, you've signed, and like, you know, now like, for lack of a better term, like you're in a band and like it's real. How has it been trying to navigate the world of fitting the Sophs into your day-to-day life and then managing that with your personal life at the same time and not going insane?
Dude, should I go? Okay, I'll go.
Hit it.
I feel like the stakes are higher.
Wow, yeah.
Because it's real.
Yeah.
But it's also fun. And I'm the only person in the band that's like married. I mean, Austin, I don't know.
You guys are gonna have two married. You guys are gonna be in a rock band, and next year you're gonna have two married members.
Well, me and Austin are married. So
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
makes it easy.
Tough shit.
Keep it in the family.
That's what we say, brother. That's what we say, brother.
The Sophs. Yeah, the Sophs. Keep it in the family.
It's not like it's not a request. It's a command. Keep it in the family. Super aggressive. But also, like, I don't know, like, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So it has changed the way I produce music full time outside of this. It has changed the way people interact with me.
Interesting.
Where they're like, oh, you do the Sophs. I want to do stuff like that. And I'm like, it's not how that works. You know? But it is, in general, I got to be on my toes a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also very rewarding.
Yeah.
I feel like I keep my guard up as a person before the band, and then I met the band, and now I'm in the band, and the band's signed, and now my guard's just constantly up.
Yeah.
But
that's gotta be weird.
I mean, I'm kind of used to keeping my guard up, but I would assume that like, if I let it down, maybe I'll meet some really interesting, beautiful people.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I guess, in general, wouldn't trade it for the world.
I know you said that it changed the way that people look at you. Do you feel like it's changed the way you look at yourself? Because, I mean, you were already in music.
100%.
But now it's a very different, like, thing to grapple with, right? Like, I'm in a band versus I'm a producer.
I don't want to, like, get too existential, but last week I was thinking about, do I think about every single thing I do? Or do I just autonomically think I'm going to go to the fridge and grab a cheese stick?
Yeah.
So lately I've been thinking about, I saw this video of Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about working out.
Yeah.
And he's like, some guys just like go to the gym and throw up their arms and like do some curls. And he's like, but if you concentrate on it, that's what makes the difference. And so I go to the gym with the guy who mixed our record, Raul. And I started thinking about every single move I'm making. And then I brought it home and I was talking to my wife and I was like,
what record?
I realized, what's that?
No, keep going.
Am I supposed to say that?
No, we already said we were releasing a record.
We're releasing a record.
But it's nebulous as to when.
Sam, why would you do that to me?
Sorry. It keeps. I forgot when you said that. I was like, wait.
Bands
what?
make albums.
Yes, they
Sam.
fucking do.
Yeah, and I just like started thinking about like what else don't I concentrate on, and that's all because the Sophs. I feel like the Sophs has changed the way I interact with music. Me and Austin were talking about this last night.
And like a relationship sense.
After rehearsal, totally.
Yeah.
Relationship, but also like in our work. Like me and Austin do a lot of different types of gigs, and now like the Sophs is like this baby of ours that we love working on and love being a part of, and it reflects. It reflects in everything.
I mean, that's so different. It's yours.
Totally.
Like that's so different, and I mean like, wow, that's a very interesting way to look at it, and not to say that music you produce for other people isn't yours. It's partially yours as well. But it's like it's your baby.
Totally.
Like it changes things a lot. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like it's been a seamless transition in the way that the Sophs has kind of fit into your life? 'Cause I know you both were in music prior to this anyway. Has the Sophs also changed the way that you guys look at music in your day-to-day life?
I want to know what Sam has to think. So.
Our resident Latin member.
Austin nuked the podcast. Ruined the whole thing.
Latin vibes.
Oh, that's funny.
Sam, can you turn it so you're talking into that guy?
Yeah.
Perfect. There you go. Thanks, bro.
Can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was asking how the Latin vibe is. No, I was saying.
Just say it in Spanish.
See, that's that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was asking.
Yeah.
How the Sophs has like changed your relationship in the way that you look at music, but also how has it fit into your life, and has the transition between being Sam not in the Sophs and being Sam in the Sophs, especially with the Sophs being signed and like it being something you take seriously, has that transition been seamless, or what would have been the bigger growing pains to like implement it into your life on a daily basis?
Oh yeah, so this is actually kind of the first band that I've ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you went to college,
but you were in music prior, right?
Yeah. But what I was doing before is I was singing in like opera and I was in choirs and stuff like that. And so kind of my relationship with music has been very interesting. It's kind of like living a double life a little bit.
Interesting.
But each life can kind of influence the other in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having everything with the Sophs going on has been really special because it kind of acts as a way in which I can continue to like write and think about music in that way. And also just generally speaking, I don't think let me say this. I think about writing music like all the time. Like I feel like I am in our living room with the guitar more like writing like melodies and things a little too much sometimes, and that's kind of, I don't know, I don't feel like I changed too much, I feel like, but also I don't know.
Did it change the way, because I mean that's interesting though, like you said you are in the living room and stuff writing a bunch of melodies and things like that, like was that not the way you were thinking about music prior because you were working more in like you said it was like more classical type stuff before?
Yeah, I feel like it's different in a way, but also my approach is similar, I guess. I feel like now, though, I get to do it a lot more collaboratively with everyone. And I get to, I don't know, it's just fun to have everyone around to make music with and to be in something that's very tactile and real and physical. And I don't know. I think the other big thing is that maybe the approach to music is similar, but the actual like relationships have grown. Yeah. And because of that, it allows all of the music and the music making to feel really big and fun.
Yeah. That's a cool way to look at it, I think. I mean, I think also you guys being a 6-piece probably helps with that too.
Oh yeah.
It's like you being a 6-piece where it's like there's so many personalities and you're bringing so many different folks to the table and everything. I feel like there's probably just a massive community around the Sophs already, just in terms of you guys having so many members.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's pretty insane just how focused each of the 6 of us are.
Yeah.
You know, you really wouldn't expect such universal dedication from 6 members. Not even the 6 members. We have a group chat. It's the 6 of us, and then our visual person who I've known since I was in high school, Eric, and
shout out Eric.
Our day-to-day manager. Shout out Eric, and then our day-to-day
Ready.
manager, Liana. And so it's the 8 of us. And for this upcoming show, I made a little spreadsheet trying to get us to all get people to RSVP, and we're all reaching towards a common goal, and it just seems so warm and communal, the fact that you have 8 people all working for the welfare of one creative artistic vision, and everybody is really just fucking stoked about it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is active in the chat.
Yeah.
Everybody is sends fucking funny pictures of fucking animals or something. I don't know. Yeah. Everybody.
Thank you, bro.
My man.
Everybody like.
Shout out Mario.
Like sticks their neck out and hits people up they haven't talked to in years to try to get to come to the show. It's really like it's a true team effort.
Yeah, and that energy can bring you so far. It can be so motivating, dude.
Like, it's so funny. It doubles as like a friend group chat, like the band group chat does. Like, it truly does.
And I think that's how it should be. I think like any time that's not the case, there's something wrong. Yeah. Like I think even having people that care about anything, whether that's like yourself, your art, like your well-being, whatever it is, having somebody that cares the same amount as you do about something that like is important to you, that can be so motivating, dude. Like, that can change everything, because then you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, doing it for them is a totally different relationship than just doing it for yourself. I think there's more pressure there, in a good way, you know?
Yeah, in a good way, for sure. Yeah, it's actually kind of harder than it looks to find that too. You know, as you might know, and like playing in bands, and everything's great for 2 weeks. Everything's like, you're on top of the world for 2 weeks.
Or a month or whatever.
Yeah, or a month or something, and then it's like, oh, now I have to show up, and I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like, now I have to show up, and I'm broke, and I'm tired, and like all this shit, and but then like like, it's pretty much what he's saying. It has to be this like it has to be this common goal.
Yeah, and there's these little iotas of truth and humanity that I feel like are lost upon a lot of people that are looking from the outside in on how things operate, and not even just in regards to us, but just in general to bands and stuff like that. They wonder, oh, these guys, you know, they think to themselves, they must have somebody at gunpoint forcing them to go to rehearsal. Yeah. Probably due to their experience with people hating rehearsing with them. I'm like, no, we just really like each other. Yeah. They're like, oh, like they must be paying people to come to their shows and stuff like that. I'm like, no, we're just like pretty well-liked guys who have been in LA for a long time.
Just trying really hard.
Yeah, I think it's really, and I feel bad for the nameless. I feel bad for the nameless that these iotas of just simple humanity seem to be lost on them. We like each other, and we are well liked.
Well, like, and I am guilty for giving up on some of that shit too when I was like coming up. Like, I've been in bands for like 21 years or something like that, and like I've had so many times where like I thought, well, that didn't work. It must not be that obvious. It must be something else. I must have to pull this lever or do this other thing or something. And I'm right back to the basics right now. Like, yeah. I mean, like not necessarily because we've had to like up our game writing and do all this stuff and like really reach inside and all this shit. But at the end of the day, it is like, do you like each other? Do you guys want to keep doing this? Are you for real about this shit? It's all the same stuff from the beginning.
Yeah, it's like his great grandfather must be Mr. Trade of Rough Trade fame. Yeah.
Instagram comment.
Wait, and I'm like, maybe they just like the fucking music, dude. Yeah. Maybe it's just good music. And if, you know, if there's a clown horn going on outside, I hope you guys know.
It's the most Boyle Heights thing of all time, bro. We're really here now. Let's go.
So if in your experience, one of these 3 things, either you and your band don't like each other, people don't like you and your band, or the quality of the music isn't there, I'm really just like, and you're kind of lashing out because of it, I'm really just like, oh fuck, dude, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
It's got to be kind of a sad state.
It's almost like a sad level of skepticism where it's like something did not go right in your life, so like you're fully projecting this onto me.
Yeah.
I had a friend recently, or a friend who's an A&R, and we were talking about like this whole concept. It's like if you're pro artist, shouldn't you be pro industry plant technically, if that even exists? And here's the ironic part: most of these, like, and I'll say this for like the majors and like most big indies, they couldn't be an industry. They couldn't make industry plants if they fucking tried. They're not very good at their jobs usually.
If
I think
you did one Google search on rough trade, that is a rough trade industry plant is practically oxymoron.
Yeah, exactly.
You're so right though, bro. That's so true.
Yeah, you know, like 95% of labels are so bad at figuring out like how to make something that they don't think is cool be cool.
Yeah,
that they could never fucking plant somebody in the industry. Benson Boone. Yeah.
If you live in LA for like a week,
yeah,
like labels, that's all they do is they try to make industry plans, and none of them work. The only ones that work are the ones who are real artists, and they can go to any label.
How dare you call me an industry plant? I've never once played at Hotel Ziggy.
I've never once played a We Found a Music show.
Never once done Breaking Sound.
Yeah.
Dude, but
it's never, not as the Sophs.
It literally all comes back to the most basic stuff possibly imaginable. And if you're not back to the most and also I will, again, out of my own experience, I will allot anybody as much time as they need to come back to home plate, you know what I mean, on the whole thing. But it is really like, it is really more simple than it seems, at least to get a band together and start making good music. And it's usually a bunch of bullshit and people's like their misconceptions of shit, their misunderstandings. Like a lot of times I think a lot of artists, they see like a trait of another artist, of another band, and they get excited by that trait, when really that trait is a side effect. And they try to wear that as something that's going to kind of set them free. And before they even make it to that point, they want to kind of act the part and enjoy the stuff that comes with that, because it's really exciting. I mean, like, I can't lie, it's very exciting. But also, it's nowhere near as exciting as just playing a really good fucking song. You know, it's nowhere near as exciting as that. And with your friends.
1,000%. And like, I don't think anybody who doesn't share that same opinion as you just laid out there finds success in this. I think if you are in music and there is anything that is more exciting to you than playing a really good fucking song, you should go do something else. That needs to be the number one thing, 24/7, 365. And I mean, you guys have been within this long enough to, like, you know, prior to the Sophs, to, I'm sure, understand that. But Austin, I would ask you, like, being in the Sophs now and like really having that stripped down of all the fluff, right? Like getting to a place where like it's really just about like, let's figure out how to make the best song. How refreshing is that for you? And like, how is that contrasted to some of the prior stuff you've had to work on?
Dude, just like Seth, he and I had produced the coming music that we did, and Sweat and the stuff that we have, and so we
it's very good, guys.
All of it, thank you, dude. All of us have been very in depth on it, pretty equilaterally, but also, you know, we do work with a lot of other artists, and we do have to have these talks constantly about like I get what that looks like, but like, what do you got to say? Like, what bothers you? What makes you happy? All this stuff. And so honestly, I think being a producer made me way more primed to be in the Sophs, because I've had to, it's been enough time sitting by myself being like, damn, kind of like what you were saying, like, damn, people are like down bad. Like, people are really out here banging their head against the wall.
100%.
You know, and it's really because of a bunch of shit that like would fall, like cardboard cutout would fall down if they only knew. You know, that's they don't even want that, or they don't even care about that, or it's effervescent or whatever. But it's that's not the word.
Effervescent.
I think it is.
It is? Okay.
You said a word. Yeah.
Okay, good. You said a word.
Well, I think a lot of it is mental.
It's a good word.
Mental blockages as well, because there's people come out to Los Angeles and they make the excuse for themselves that people come out to Los Angeles unable to socialize effectively, and rather than face that fact head on, they make the excuse for themselves that while you guys are out partying, I'm in my room studying my craft. And I'm like, you're never gonna get
writing
better.
charts when you're at Zebulon.
I'm like, you're never gonna get better at the creative. And this is speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Of course, there are so many
it's pretty
exemptions
real,
to my fucking rule or whatever. But the creative aspect of stuff is so educated by the fact that you're a human being with a pulse who leaves the house.
Yeah.
And I find I write the best music when I've gone out and I've made friends and I've lost friends and I've got my heart broken and I've danced and I've fallen in love, and you can't do any of those things unless you leave the fucking house.
Yeah, like or else you're gonna be one of those bands that's like, right, like you go on tour for 2 years, now all your songs are about going on tour and about like leaving your girl and all this stuff.
If I stayed in and studied the Blade for a year straight instead of saying hi to somebody of the opposite gender, my songs would be dog shit.
Like, there's some element of like bearing down and stuff, but exactly, if you're not writing about life, how is anyone supposed to get it? How's anyone supposed to get anything? In which case,
and
like,
if you're not living life, how are you writing about life?
Well,
exactly.
And you could be like, music is also, you pointed out music therapeutically earlier.
Sure.
If it's a diary entry, if it's a thing to your brother or sister you never want them to hear, or if it's a thing about yourself or whatever, dude, like, knock yourself out by all means. Make music for whatever the reason is, but like, don't kid yourself, I would say, because I do heavily empathize with anyone out there who wants to make music and get it on a stage or get it coming out of speakers or having someone cry into their car at 2 a.m. or something like that. I think a lot of these people, I don't know the best way to say it, but I really do think that they, like,
their priorities are in the wrong place.
Their priorities are in the wrong place, and like what they want to do isn't so close. It's within reach, and it really could be as powerful as they think and everything. And if they would stop doing their little dance, you know, like I wanted to be the most specialist boy who ever did live until I was like 18, and then I was like, that's a waste of my fucking time. And then I met him when I was like 20 or 21. And he realized
I was the most specialist boy that ever lived.
No, then I realized I was wasting my. No, I'm just kidding. It's hard, man. It's hard to like have a goal musically and do it, and it hurts, and it makes you feel like you look stupid, and it makes you feel like you're never gonna get it or do it or whatever. But like, it's just, that's like, if you could make that. Like, honestly, if you can make that part of the fun, my biggest piece of advice, not that anyone asked, is that if you can enjoy, I got this piece of advice from someone about like working out and about doing things that I hate. The envisioning a reward at the end makes the shit you're doing harder. So if you're like, oh, I'm doing this so I can get to I'm doing this so that people will like me, I'm making music so that like I can be admired on stage or whatever, it makes the writing and the cultivating and the promoting seem in your brain, it reinforces that is bullshit and is stupid, when in reality it's like the good old days. So I really do wish that people would just appreciate the time that
it's so hard to fall. Like, I totally agree with you, and I think that's such a hard thing to do simultaneously. I think falling in love with like the difficult parts of this, it's simultaneously the most hard thing you can do and also the most beneficial thing you can do. Like, I think if you can get to a place where the shitty parts, right, like the promoting and like the rehearsing and whatever, if you can make those into the good parts, you're golden.
Well, it's a part of it is just deluding yourself. You know, you have to truly be so delusional that every single time you shamelessly promote a show to somebody who's come to the 10 past ones or whatever and is so sick of your music, you truly have to think, I'm doing them such a favor.
Sure.
You're getting to be able to hear my music for the 11th time.
You gotta be a little delusional, I think.
It's the perfect blend of delusions. It's like, don't have these ones, have these ones. Don't have the ones that's like everyone will love me just cause, and do have the ones that's like, someone's gonna wear my shirt and come to a place for me. Like, do have those ones.
Well, it's less so about everyone's gonna love me, and it's more so about I love this thing in my hand so goddamn much. I cannot understand, even with a gun to my head, how anyone else couldn't love it.
Yeah, and I don't like, I think it would be easy to write that feeling off as delusional self-belief, but I don't think it's delusional. I don't think we're all that different. I think, like, if you, like genuinely, right, like, and you're not lying to yourself, you're not being arrogant, you're not just, painting all the bad parts, you're genuinely being unbiased and listening to your own music and saying, wow, like, I love this. This makes me feel like my favorite pieces of music do. There is 1,000% something to that, and you should follow that for the rest of your life. I think if you really believe in something you're making, like, you can stand by it and say, like, I fucking love this. There is somebody out there that will love it too. You just have to find them, and that can be the easier part. You just have to just put your head out there and figure out how to do it. Just a process, I think what you were saying was very interesting to me about it's so easy to almost like derive this very arrogant perspective and this very like holier than thou perspective of those who just do not go outside and they're like, I'm better than you, my music's better than you because I sit in my room on Logic for like 9 hours a day and I haven't put a song out in 12 years. I think that's a very common like Los Angeles perspective to have, and I think I've encountered a lot of folks like that. And
there's so many, like, I say this with full acknowledgement of my personal privilege and the various privileges of the people that surround me, and so on and so forth. But like, I don't know, there are a few people in our band that are like dead broke. Yeah, come from like a dead broke fucking family. Yeah. I mean, Seth and Austin's, their dads are dead. Like, they're still out fucking figuring out a way to run it every chance they can get. Seth is a brilliant networker. Austin's a bit of a Mormon, but people, not actually, but I don't just despite your circumstances, everything that you put in front of yourself to say, oh, I can't go and just be a pleasant person to other people. I'm like, well, the days of well, what? Didn't Elliott Smith even fuck like Minnie Driver or something like that in the Good Will Hunting era? Like, God, bro, like, that's sick, dude. That's even sick. He could get pussy. What is your fucking problem, brother?
That's true.
Like, I say that as a massive fan, and I don't say so because of any physical attributes, whatever. I just say, like, if you're basing your quiet, reserved, holier than thou artist type on people, on nostalgia, thinking of artists like Elliott Smith or Kurt Cobain.
Can you turn the mic a bit so you're...
Oh, yeah. Thanks, thinking of artists like Elliott Smith or Kurt Cobain in terms of like, well, they used to do it, so I'll just, stay inside in a dark room and do all this dark shit. And I'm like, brother, they hated themselves, bro.
They were doing heroin.
They were fucking,
but that's so true. Sorry, I mean, that goes back to what Austin was saying. It's like we're glamorizing these terrible things. Like, these are bad things. These are not good traits.
They were enjoying the fruits of, and not just in a purely physical context. They were enjoying the fruits of their labor to some degree. Yeah. I can promise you, despite what, like, the shitty biopic might have said, Kurt Cobain probably enjoyed a couple nights out.
Yeah. That is interesting though, and I mean, like, this is a interesting question, something I think about a lot, but I think it's so, because what's the best way to ask this? I think it's very hard to strike the balance. I think it's really hard to find the balance between, like, how am I going out and enjoying the fact that I live in one of the biggest cities in the world, first off, and then how am I simultaneously doing that in a way that's beneficial for my career, which I like to think of just as making friends. So, I mean, that rings true to most people, I think.
Just simplify it like that, making friends.
That's always what I think about it as. But how do you do that and then balance that with making a living at a day job, and then balance that with making music and stuff? Like, I think there are some folks who, like, certainly do kind of give in to, like, almost insular tendencies and stay inside because they're afraid to go outside, but that's also very real. How do you, like, get to this place where, like, you are thinking of, like, the spending time with your friends and meeting people and things like that as a priority? Because I think from the outside perspective, it'd be very difficult for somebody else to understand that.
Yeah, I mean, not that matters, it's grading. I do work a day job. I do 8 to 3 most days of the week, and I take a nap from like 3 to 5, and then I check emails, and then I go and answer some texts from my friends that say, do you want to go out to this bar? And I respond to them and I say yes. And then I go and do it.
Yeah.
And then I try to get home by like 1 or something like that. And then I wake up, and since I work online, I go and I start my day over. I get 6.5 hours of sleep and I figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think though that being pleasant is a skill that you kind of hone.
I agree with you.
So in order to do that, prioritize, like you said it, spending time with other people is as important of a priority as like a day job,
sure,
or as like anything else that you'd have in your life.
And
so it's not easy, you know, and in order to get there, the best way to do it is to just continue to say yes. And obviously not in ways that like scare you, because you don't want to be too scared, but I don't know, just saying yes more times than saying no when someone invites you out is a good place to start, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I have this tendency to put like very hardline boundaries on myself that are like, I don't know if they're healthy. Like, I'm like, I'm not going out on these days, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing that. And then it's difficult to figure out the balance, right? It's like, how much is too much?
Yeah, no.
Because I think when you start saying no, you start to find every excuse to say no.
Sure.
And that includes having like your creative reasons to say no, or having X, Y, and Z reason to say no. Like, there will always be, your brain will always come up with reasons to say no to honing yet another essential skill that you can craft within yourself.
And
you're
right. The first example that he mentioned, like using your creativity as a crutch, as a scapegoat for you not to socialize, you start to resent the creative process.
Yeah. Do you relate to that? Like, if you started to resent it?
Well, I've never used it.
Not
as
like
a
in the
crutch.
past, but I'm saying, like, do you think you would?
I mean, it's speculative, but sure.
Yeah.
I can understand how some may, and it's I think people will use as many excuses as they can to ignore the basics. Home plate, as Austin was saying, being well liked, liking each other if you're collaborating, and just making really good stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's very human. I think it's very easy to write off the human parts of us, because we're so like, I think it's so easy to fucking get in your head and just be like internet brained and think I don't need any of this, and like taking the influence from like all these different people around you, and the influence, and then like, you know, the people around you on the internet, folks in your real life, just living in a big city.
It's really important, tangentially, to drink and to do drugs. I think it's really important to drink and to do drugs, and not even when you're socializing, but when you're alone. I think you should drink. I think you should drink when you're alone. I think you should do it.
How many nights a week would you say you should drink alone? Like, if you had to guess.
I don't drink alone, but I think you should.
like how many days a week would you advise somebody to drink alone? Maybe like
drink alone 7 days a week.
I like that.
Just
because you're pairing it with drugs.
Don't do as I do as I say. Drink alone.
Yeah, I think in terms of the balance thing, like I think about this a lot, and my girlfriend told me this one time, and I think it always rings true back to me, and it brings me home a lot, where she says, like, if something needs to happen, it will happen. And I think that's very true, and I think that rings true to like most able-bodied and like well-minded folks, where it's like, if you need to pay your rent, you'll know how to pay your rent. Like, if you need to figure out how to get somewhere, you'll figure out how to get there. And it's like, if you don't feel like maybe the thing that's in front of you, saying yes to it, is going to, you know, set you back in paying your rent, or send you back on your essentials and stuff, then maybe it's worth doing. Yeah.
Can I say some shit?
Yeah, say it.
Spit
some shit.
So when we were working on like a bunch of songs, and I'm like, there's a lot of songs, guys. Ethan was like, I want to put out the album, but I don't want it to fall on deaf ears. Like, I don't want no one to hear it. He's like, do you think we can get signed without putting anything out? And I was like, hold that thought. And I have some buddies that work either with labels or they work for labels. And I was like, what do you guys think about this idea about getting signed without putting anything out? And they're like, you're fucking crazy if that's what you want. And I was like, well, that's what Ethan wants. So, I mean, I don't know. What were we talking about before this?
Balancing.
Yeah. If it'll happen, it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. If it needs to happen, it will.
If you need to pay your rent. So,
it'll get paid.
Like, Ethan was like, I can't let this fall on deaf ears. I need this to be important somehow. It actually, he made that happen. Like, not in like a way that like, I don't know, he didn't like conjure spirits or anything or like get into
voodoo. The work.
He did the work.
A little, almost.
Almost. But I don't know. I was blown away how like I was told so much that it was not possible.
Yeah.
Not in this day and age. And then he made it happen.
Yeah.
Out of thin air.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, I'll say this, and then we'll start wrapping up because I have to piss my pants and get out of here. We got to make it to a succulent Korean barbecue meal at Quarters in K-Town. I highly recommend. But you know, I was short on rent a few days before the fact. I took some PA jobs. I listened to white women call each other slurs for a little bit. Just gritted my teeth through it, and I made a fat check and then made it happen. Picked up a social work job, made it happen, and then everybody was like, "Oh no, you can't get signed. You're stupid. People only did that in the 90s." And I did it how they did it in the 90s, and now they're like, "Oh, no way he could have done that." Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, you twin. Let him
find
know.
a bridge, asshole.
Yeah. You guys very much are an example of I think a way of finding success that a lot of people would consider lost. What advice would you, and this is the last thing I'll ask you, but what advice would you give to a band that was the Sophs last year? A band that is by themselves in either LA or Arizona or the Bay Area or wherever they are. Like a band that thinks that their body of work is fantastic and they don't want it to fall on deaf ears. What piece of advice would you give them?
Should we go down the line?
Yeah.
Sam first.
I think the advice I would give, this is gonna sound really mean or sad, but write even better songs, because I think as soon as I'm gonna go back to the story, but as soon as we had this first body of work, the second we just started like writing yet another body of work out of kind of with even more liberty and freedom, because we were like, oh, okay, now that we're kind of waiting that this, everything is kind of going towards, or all of our creative energy was going towards writing with like this weight off of our shoulders, or like a lift, or like this new kind of energy, this new breath, and it became something really special. And I just think that if you have music that you're really proud of, keep continuing to write, and you might be really thrilled at what you find.
Yeah, I love that. Just keep searching.
Yeah.
Ethan's got a piece on V-Sharp. Focus on the bigger problem, whatever it is. Focus on the bigger problem, and when in doubt, go deeper. Actually, you have your mic. Do you want mine?
No. I'd say being... Fuck, what would I say? Fuck. Give me 1 sec. I'd say no matter how trite you may feel it to be the best advocate for yourself, and not in a woo-woo integrity kismet way, but for some goddamn reason, when you start doing the stuff you want to do, stuff starts working out.
Yeah.
Show people, just show people that you trust, people that are real with you, people that will tell you, yo, this is dog shit, people that will tell you, I think this chorus could be better, because then that'll like reaffirm within you
no, fuck you, this chorus is great. Or like, you're right, it is really great. Or if you're unsure and they're like, I don't know about this one, it's probably not the one.
Yeah.
And that's how the band kind of works, and that's how I've worked with all my friends.
Yeah.
And it's helped me tremendously trust the band.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sophs, thanks a lot, guys. Thank
you.
Thank you, Dante. Thank you, Above the Bridge.
Thank you, bro.
Ladies of America, we are the first Peter Thiel-backed K-pop Strokes cover group on the moon. Listen to our debut song, Sweet. All right.
We'll be touring space next year.
Thanks for doing this, guys. You're one of my favorite bands. It's been a long time since I've heard a project that I'm as blown away as your guys. And I'm very excited for the world to hear it. Like, I've been a Sophs fan since day one, so very excited.
New song out July 15th.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Very excited to have you play the festival. Very honored to have the Sophs first festival performance, Community Service Festival, August 2nd. Fox Theater, Pomona. The Sophs open the main stage. It's gonna be awesome. If you trust anything we've ever said, then catch them live. So I'm incredibly excited. Thank you guys for playing it. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, man.
Much love.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys. Big fan. Can't wait to see what happens with the Sophs in the next 5 years. I think it'll be amazing things. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Music matters.